Hello, my name is Rutger Volkma, and I'm talking about the Stonewall Uprising. A summary: Sexuality in 1969. In 1969, the solicitation of homosexual relations was an illegal act in most urban centers. Gay bars were considered a refuge, but subjected to regular harassment by police. The Stonewall Inn was one of those locations. On June 28th, this area was entered by 9 policemen who arrested the employees, roughed up patrons, and arrested others for not wearing at least 3 articles of gender appropriate clothing, which was punishable around that time. The riots: people were angry outside of the location and began rioting. They threw items at the police and yelled at them. The police, who were used to more peaceful people and types of protests, called in backup while 400 people rioted. The barricade was breached and the bar was lit ablaze. The riots continued for days afterwards. Their goals: they were after equal treatment in comparison to heterosexual individuals. Their way of life had been outlawed and punishable. If others knew what type of people they loved, they'd be ostracized from society. They were after legalization. They wanted homosexuality to be legalized between 2 consenting adults. And as you can see from the tone of the signs that they have here, it's incredibly peaceful. Some of the methods that they used were the early protests, as mentioned previously. Some of the earliest forms of protest were the usual marches. They would get in suits and make signs to show their unity and how much this issue meant to them. They also used riots. When the anger had built up, riots started happening due to the events happening at Stonewall and the cracking down on bars because of the upcoming election. These riots made the community more united than they had ever been previously. And you can see that the signs on the right are more so about fighting because they realized their strength provided by their unity. The effectiveness: the marches didn't accomplish much right away, but created the groundwork for future activism, including the pride parades that still happen today. It brought attention to the issue and made the feelings of the community public. The riots were much more effective. The Stonewall riot was spontaneous, but taught those there that their unity granted them power. It was so incredibly successful that it completely changed how the equality of homosexuals was fought for and brought the community closer together while fighting for change. Some notable events: the 1969 upcoming election. Due to the election that was occurring that winter, the police began acting more when it came to bars. This eliminated possible refuges and resulted in a lot of people being detained. The stress that it caused was a substantial reason protests became riots. The Stonewall Inn incident. The famous drag performer at Black Cat Cafe. Oh, oh, never mind. Sorry, the Stonewall Inn incident. Um, uh, People were angry outside of the location and began rioting. They threw items at the police and yelled at them, as mentioned previously. The police barricaded themselves, but people broke through the barricade and lit the place on fire. Um, Jose Saria is running. A famous drag performer at Black Cat Cafe and founder of the Imperial Court, Jose Saria, or the Widow Norton, ran for San Francisco Supervisor in 1961 and received 6,000 votes. Despite losing, they demonstrated that there was a consolidated gay community constituency and brought visibility to the plight of the queer community while also inspiring generations of people within the community to run for office. Jose made history by being the first out LGBTQ plus person to ever run for office in the United States. The further Stonewall riots. In the following nights, more and more people showed up and united against the discrimination and plights that faced the queer community. People not even identifying as a member took arms and stood beside each other to make their voices heard each and every night. Some notable demonstrations: the Stonewall Uprising. The initial uprising at Stonewall Inn was the first of many nights of rioting. This method of protest was a lot more effective than the marches previously practiced. In addition, it unified the community in a way that it previously hadn't been. A substantial crowd began throwing pennies and other things at the police while calling them names. The police went into the bar and formed a barricade that was eventually breached shortly before the bar was set on fire. I found it a bit ironic that due to the events happening around them, the police found refuge in the gay bar. It's just a coincidental parallel. The first Pride. People didn't want others to forget about Stonewall and just let it fade out of time. So, about a year later, They decided they wanted to continue to protest and show their issues. An idea was proposed about going on a march. Instead of fighting for equality, though, it was for pride. The strength and unity created during the Stonewall Uprising made that possible. People were finally proud to be themselves and weren't scared to say so. Some notable events, I don't have many, and I'm only including this as an incident rather than an event because of the amount of tragedy involved. After being made to look weak, the police came back with even more brutality the following night. They would go for wounds to the head, which would leave people unconscious on the streets and bleeding from those wounds. They would use tear gas and rip people off the street, as seen in the photo there. The amount of violence in response to the riot was substantial. On a brighter note, though, the previous riot encouraged people that weren't part of the community to show up and fight for the rights of the queer people. Some notable figures: the Widow Norton, or Jose Sarria, as mentioned previously, marked history by running for office while being out in San Francisco. This action brought attention to the plights of the queer community. Raymond Castro is noted to have been the first arrested at Stonewall and ignited the crowd when he shoved back and knocked the police officers who had cuffed him off of their feet. Jerry Hoose's involvement at Stonewall made him an activist, and he would remain involved in gay politics until he died. Hoose was a founding member of the Gay Liberation Front, one of the first organizations to represent the radicalization of queer people after Stonewall. Barbara Giddings is an important figure for gay rights. Not only was she key in organizing some of the first pro-LGBTQ plus protests, but she was also responsible for the American Psychiatric Association to declassify homosexuality as a mental disorder through years of pressuring and different forms of protest. Where they are, they're everywhere. The LGBTQ plus community, although still facing discrimination by certain groups, has largely been accepted and capable of sharing society with heterosexual individuals. Every day, more and more people are capable of coming out and expressing pride, which was unthinkable during the events of the Stonewall Uprising. It's because of the sacrifice and protesting from those in 1969 and the previous decades that created that possibility today.